All you do in Tekken 8 is mash. You wouldn't get a single round off of me if we were playing any other Tekken. Tekken 8 is not real Tekken. You must have heard at least one of these lines before. I know I have at least. But while it is 99% of the time used by someone to make themselves feel better about losing to you in Tekken 8, it certainly makes the newer Tekken fans think. What is so different about older Tekkens and the recent ones that people don't even consider them to belong to the same franchise? So, to answer that question, here are 4 ways old school Tekken was ruthless compared to the newer Tekken entries, and why that is a very important question to ask in order to understand why Tekken 8 is disliked by such a big part of the community. So before we start, I want to make it clear that the Tekken games I'll be talking about are Tekken 5, Tekken 6, and Tak 2, since those are the ones I grew up with, so I won't be talking about anything before that since I haven't experienced it firsthand, right? So the first aspect that has been lost from older Tekkens that I really want to talk about is the old Oki system, and this is my favorite topic on this list, and I'll tell you why later. But anyway, at first glance, visually speaking of course, there isn't much difference between then and now. You have your get up kicks, mid and low of course, the spring kick, a toe kick, the side rolls both to the foreground and the background, and you can of course stand straight back up, either by using up or down back if you wanted to stand up with a low block, right? The only visual difference here is the back roll, where in the older Tekkens it was an actual back roll, as you can see, instead of Tekken 7 and Tekken 8, where the character just slides backwards off the ground, right? As you can see. So again, visually the animations were not that different really, but the devil here is in the details. One small detail and one huge, gigantic detail, right? The smaller detail here is that the get up kicks had wildly different attributes. As you can see, they were all unsafe on block to varying degrees actually. From -12 for the least disadvantageous position, which was face up, feet towards, to -20 and -19, which is whopping, like, launch punishable territory for the low and the mid, respectively, -20 and -19, in the most disadvantageous position, which was face down, feet away, right? And going through each position, like for example face down, feet towards, which had the advantage of a low get up kick that launched, it actually launched on normal hit, as opposed to the other ones that only launched on counter hits, as you can see. Like, in that aspect, get up kicks and grounded mind games were a lot more flavorful and had a lot more complexity and risk to them, while still giving the attacker a reasonable advantage, right? Since they knocked the other player down. Some positions were low risk, low risk, low reward, relatively of course -12 on both kicks. Others were high risk, high reward, as we've seen with the face down, feet towards, and some were just high risk, low reward. So in other words, ass, right? They were terrible. So it really adds to the complexity of ground games in the previous Tekken entries. And remember that this is the smaller detail here. The bigger detail, which is huge, which is gigantic, is that, to explain it, we are going to go back to Tekken 8, right? In the newer Tekkens, when you try to stand up with either up or back, you would go from grounded to standing directly, from grounded to standing, with nothing in between, right? You would either get hit grounded while trying to stand up, or you would block the move. Very simple, straightforward. Now, in older Tekken games, while trying to stand up with up or back, you weren't considered grounded, you weren't considered standing either. You were actually considered airborne, right? It sounds like a bad joke because the character is just standing up off the ground. Why the fuck would they be airborne? So let's look at an example. In Tekken 8, if Lee does back 4 in a combo into down 2, the opponent has the time to block it, but a down 3 is a guaranteed grounded hit, even if they try to stand up in any way, right? Now, in Tekken Tag 2, back 4 into down 3 is still guaranteed, right? Except they are hit airborne if they try to stand up, as you can see, either if they try to stand up or back roll, which they can do to take less damage from the down 3 as opposed to if they took the down 3 grounded. But if the Lee knows they're gonna do that, he can straight up combo them off the ground if they try to stand up with a down 2 for a full combo into the same situation if he wants to with another back 4, which is devastating for the person who is grounded. And like, if you think only a few characters can do this with Lee with his back 4, which has amazing recovery, you are dead wrong. From Jin, Mr. Back to 1, who could safely pick you up for a combo, if you so much as thought about standing up, right? To Bruce, who had access to the same situation from, hear this out, from a safe pseudo-homing counter hit launching mid, right? Back to the super button, the first super button in Tekken, which is a safe pseudo-homing counter hit launching mid, to Harang, which had a 70 damage running 3 actually, which would launch you if you tried to stand up, either with a forward forward 3, an RFF forward forward 3, or a down back 4, I think, right? To King, who had the most egregious example of this, because his max damage ender in combos also had his best Oki, which could lead him to loop the situation again indefinitely. But here is the most important part. I want you to understand this. This is all under the condition that the defender doesn't know how to stand up. If the defender doesn't know how to stand up, they're going to keep getting launched again and again and again. Because if they do, like, it goes from a guaranteed win for the attacker, right, to the person who knows, to back roll, pick up the opponent, or to pick them off the ground, of course, if they press up or down back. It goes from that, if they don't know about the OK system, to an interesting grounded mind game, if the opponent knows about how to stand up and the risk of standing up in the previous seconds. And this is why I like the old OK system so much. It doesn't demand grinding, it doesn't demand like training muscle memory, it's not even a superficial barrier to entry like knowing how to duck or step a string, which Tekken is known for. Just ignoring or understanding the OK system can make it go from an overwhelming landslide of an advantage for the attacker to an elaborate mind game revolving around standing back up, with the opponent still having the overwhelming advantage. That's why I like it so much. Just knowing makes all the difference in the OK system. The second aspect that I wanted to visit was how older Tekkens actually required you to clean up your inputs, and how they were more demanding in terms of execution, but universally, not like, not talking about characters specifically, but universally, whatever character you played, you had to clean up your inputs. I'm sure that sounds very abstract, right? So let's go over some examples ranging from least to most important, with the last one being nothing short of pivotal in terms of how you interact with movement in these games. So the first one here is buffer windows, which used to be much smaller in older Tekkens. It is difficult to understand if you're just looking at the gameplay, but a common misconception when playing these games is thinking that, oh, the game is eating your inputs because you're pressing something and it doesn't come out, or it's ignoring your commands. It doesn't really. In fact, Tekken 8 is known to do this more than any other Tekken before it, right? It's just that older entries in Tekken give you much smaller windows to accept your inputs, and in this aspect they are more demanding than the newer ones, execution-wise at least, like micro dashes for example, right? Another aspect is actually throw breaks. In Tekken 8, if you want to break a 1+2 throw, the game will have a certain leniency between pressing the buttons. For example, to break the throw in Tekken 8, I am intentionally pressing the 1 before the 2 and the 2 before the 1, and the game still counts that as a 1+2 break. And I break the throw, of course. Now this leniency is amazing for people who don't have binds on their controllers, and they have, in which case they would have to press the 2 buttons at the same time, because it's kinda difficult really to press both 1 and 2 on reaction at the same time every time. Well, older Tekkens actually did not have this leniency at all, so if you press the second button even a single frame slower than the first one, it counts as a wrong break and you eat the throw all the same. In fact, a lot of the time when a high level player got hit with a 1+2 throw, they would say, "Ugh, I plinked." And plinking in this specific context is pressing one of the 2 buttons before the other one, which was unintentional most of the time, of course, but they still get hit by the throw all the same, of course. This is another way in which older Tekkens demanded more accuracy when it came to inputs. The third and most important way in which previous entries required you to be precise with your inputs, and this one is important to me because it's like a whiplash every time I hop back on T5, T6 or Tag 2 after playing Tekken 8 for a long time. In older Tekkens, if you do a backdash and let go of the second back, you are no longer able to block in that backdash. To give you a clear idea, look at this. In Tekken 8, when I backdash, even if I let go of the second back, I can still press back again to block. See? Backdash, I backdash, I let go of back, and I press back again, and I can block. Easy. In Tekken 6, for example, however, if I backdash and I let go of the second back, even if I try to block again, I can't block. I am no longer able to block from a backdash if I let go of back. Now, the solution to this is simple, really. It's simple to think about. You should either have a perfect backdash where you don't let go of the back until you go to the down back to cancel the backdash. Or if you already let go of the back and you see your opponent doing something, you can press down back into back in time to block before your opponent's attack. But just like the fact of needing a perfect backdash to defend correctly is a testament to the standard of execution that you must hold yourself to in order to play the game well. And in this aspect, this aspect in particular, makes me kinda sad, because I never really noticed it back in the day when I used to play these games. But it's only after playing Tekken 7 and Tekken 8 for so long, and then coming back to these games, to these older games, that I realized how much I became lazy with my backdash, both with the input both with the input buffering, as I said, and the backdash accuracy. And so I invite anyone who never played these games to give them a try, give them a whirl, see how different they feel to play compared to the newer games, right? Here's the fun fact. Did you know that Tekken Tag 2 almost killed the Tekken franchise? I don't mean killed in the same way Twitter doomers say Tekken 8 is dead, even though it still has good sales, right? I actually mean the word killed, as in there was going to be no more Tekken, right? Just because Tag 2 did so terrible. And while bad marketing was a large contributor to that, the gameplay did not help the game's case at all. If I could describe it in one word, it would be hardcore, right? Tekken Tag 2 was straight up hardcore. So, in this section, which is the Tekken Tag 2 special, we're going to discover why Tag 2 was, in my opinion, the most difficult Tekken to get into, bar none. The first detail that made Tekken Tag 2 so special was that there were twice as many characters in the match now, so there's twice as much homework you need to do, since you need to know how to play your main and your other main. And you need to know the counterplay to your opponent's character and their other character, right? A huge amount of knowledge required to play this game. Another thing here was the recoverable health, actually, and before any Tekken 8 knob gobblers go about how, oh, we hate chip damage in Tekken 8, but we don't mention it in Tag 2, hear me out, this is not chip damage. You only get recoverable or red health, as we call it in this game, on hit. So you don't actually get punished for blocking here as opposed to Tekken 8. And to add to that, to recover red health in this game, you need to have that character not be on the screen, so they can only recover health with time, in contrast to Tekken 8, where you get health back by pressing and attacking and going on the offensive, in contrast to Tag 2, where the best way to recover health in that game was to actually slow down the tempo and buy some time for the other character to get their health back, right? Tekken Tag 2 also had tag bufferable launchers to deal with the recoverable health without needing to watch a 10-second long cinematic like in Tekken 8. Moving on, you also had tag assault combos, which lets your other character get a few hits in the middle of the combo for more damage and will carry at the cost of giving the opponent's other character rage in the middle of the match, which they could use to pile on some good damage if they managed to safely raw tag Or if they are in a bad situation, they could use Tech Crash to switch characters in a safer manner at the cost of the character's rage and the other character's recoverable health. But if the opponent is expecting a Tech Crash, they could finish their combos with an Ender that would let them make the Tech Crash whip or bait out the Tech Crash, right? And they could launch Punish It in that situation. Like, needless to say, Tekken Tag 2 had a lot of mind games at any moment that is not neutral, right? If you were not neutral in Tekken Tag 2, you had to do rocket science. And that is why even in the context of old school Tekken, Tag 2 was considered by many to be a difficult game to get into and master. And the last way old school Tekken was ruthless compared to now is, and maybe you've seen this one coming, but we have to talk about it. It's throw breaks, because I see a lot of scrubs acting proud of their throw breaks in Tekken 7 and Tekken 8, while they don't know the horrors of breaking throws in old Tekkens. So, first off, generic grabs in older Tekkens you could not break with either 1 or 2, right? If the other guy did a generic 1+3, you had to break with a 1, and if they did 2+4, you had to break with a 2. And if you add the fact that almost everyone had a 1+2 command grab, you would quickly realize that every character in the roster had a full throw game, right? So if you struggle with seeing which hand comes out to grab you, you would not be having a good time with older Tekkens, that's for sure. But it doesn't stop here, of course it doesn't. In T7 and T8, so the newer Tekken games, the moment a grab connects, you have 20 frames to break it, which is reasonable because a grab is normally 12 frames. So you have 12 plus 20, that's a whole 32 frames you have to see that you've been grabbed. First of all, see which hand grabbed you, and then press the button to break accordingly, button or buttons if it's a 1+2, which is again very reasonable. Counter hit grabs, however, only have a 14 frame break window, so if you add the initial throw animation, that's 26 frames, 12 plus 14 is 26. From the moment the grab starts to when you cannot break anymore, which seems doable. 26 frames is more than enough. Now, if you have really good throw breaks in Tekken 8, let me ask you and be honest with yourself. How well can you break counter hit throws in Tekken 8? Not very well, I imagine. In fact, I personally am confident in my throw breaks, and I can tell you that since Tekken 8 came out, I have not broken more than 5 counter hit throws, maybe. Like on purpose at least, out of the hundreds that hit me. That's less than a 5% rate, which is nothing. Dear viewer, in every Tekken where you could break throws before Tekken 7, every grab had a 14 frame break window. Every grab in every Tekken before Tekken 7 was equivalent to a counter hit grab in Tekken 8. So, if you have Tekken 8 right now, do yourself a favor, go to the throw escape training, I think it is, it's called in Tekken 8 practice mode, pick a character that has a full throw game, and go to the very hard presets which emulate counter hit grabs in a real match, and try breaking those throws. It is a very humbling experience, like you can see how hard they are to break, like compared to the normal throws that we have in Tekken 7 and Tekken 8. Every grab that you are trying to break right now, if you go on the very hard preset in throw escape mode, was a normal grab before Tekken 7, right? And like, what's crazy to me is that the pros had this on fucking lockdown. You'll watch old Tekken tournaments on YouTube, like Final Round for Tekken Tag 2. They almost broke just as many throws then as they do now in Tekken 8. I can't wrap my head around it, that's crazy stuff. I personally remember back in the day when I was bad, I mean, like, I'm still bad at the game, but when I was worse, right? When I was worse at Tekken, I could not see the grab, I could not, like, recognize the animation and do the appropriate break, so I used to just guess between 1 and 2. The 1+2 grabs I could react to back in the day, and break accordingly, but between a 1 and a 2 break, I literally just used to guess. with a fair success rate, you know, but I used to guess all the same. Fun times to remember that. So these were some ways, right? Not all, but some ways older Tekkens were different from the newer ones. And you might be asking yourself right now, if Tekken 7 and Tekken 8 are so similar to each other, why is it that Tekken 8 is such a massive success, the most successful entry in the franchise, while Tekken 8 is getting bashed left, right, and center if they're so similar? But that's another topic for another time. Because the goal of this video, at least, is to make you understand if you're new, like, to the franchise, and make you remember, if you're a veteran, why older Tekken games are considered hard and difficult to get into. It's because between the 14 frame break windows, the old OK system, the restriction to input leniency, and many other things, older Tekkens were harder games to get into, period. And I personally think that's the case too, just not to the extent that most people want you to believe. If you hear someone complaining about new Tekken, if you hear someone say these lines, like, you should know that they are just pathetic people. They are bad at the game and you would beat them all the same in the older Tekkens. But you should at least know that there is a smidge, there is a teeny tiny bit of truth in those words, because older Tekken games made the difference between a newer player and an experienced player much more noticeable compared to the newer Tekken games. And that is an objective truth, in my opinion at least, right? Anyway, if you enjoyed watching this video, please like and subscribe, it would help me a lot. Share your thoughts and experiences on old school Tekken down in the comments. And yeah, this has been Magician. Take care of yourself and have a good one.